4C divers, thank you for tuning in. It is a wonderful day here in August. It is gorgeous outside and in the water. It is August 11th, 2022, and we have a fantastic presentation planned tonight. It's a topic I've actually never had a guest presenter talk about, and so we're really excited. And one thing to note, if you are new to our Facebook Lives, go ahead and say hello to us in the comment section. Tell us where you're listening in from. Are you here in South Florida? Are you in the state of Florida? Where are you at in the U.S.? We would like to know, because it's always great to know where our fans are following us from. And if you're new to our Facebook Lives, we like to do a live raffle at the end of our presentations. So if you have not gone to our link over on our website, go to www.force-e.com before 6:45, find the presentation in the events tab and register your name and your email address, because we're going to put you in for a live raffle. And we're raffling off tonight some free air fills. So if you are in the mood to get some free stuff, go ahead and get to that raffle before 6:45, and then I'll pull the names and boom, we will do a raffle and you will win, hopefully. All right, we got some people listening in. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Awesome. Also, when you guys are listening to our presentation, please make sure to hit that thumbs up button, that heart emoji, that smiley face. Let us know that you're enjoying the topic and that you want to see more of this in the future. Also, if you guys really like the topic, you can always share. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this. You can hit that share button and you can do a Facebook watch while we're going live, or you can share it after the presentation onto your timeline so that others that you think might be interested in the topic can watch along. All right, so let's go ahead and introduce our guests tonight. All right, we have Joseph
Benazia.
I asked him like 3 times how to pronounce his name. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
And he is with the Florida's Right to Clean Water. He's going to tell you a little bit about himself and the organization. And we're going to be talking about the water quality here in South Florida and what you guys need to know as divers and what you need to know as far as what you can do to help. So, Joseph, are you ready?
Yes, I am, Nicole.
All right, go ahead. We're going to pull up that presentation and we're going to flip that on, and you guys are in for a real treat.
Sure. Nicole, thanks for having me here tonight, everybody. Joseph Benazia here. I'm the chair for Florida Rights of Nature Network. I am also with Florida Right to Clean Water. I moved down here, Southwest Florida, Cape Coral, about 6 years ago. Before that, I spent the first 6 decades of my life living on Long Island. When I was a kid, that meant a lot of time looking at the Atlantic Ocean from the South Shore. And as an adult, it meant a lot of time looking at the waters of the Long Island Sound. That's where I spent the last 30, 40 years of my life. Never did I experience anything like I experienced down here in 2018, 2019 in Southwest Florida. That's when we had the double whammy of blue-green algae blooms and historic red tides. Tens of thousands of tons of dead sea life had to be hauled away from our beaches. It was absolutely appalling. And after having lived so many years around water, it was astonishing for me to see something like that. Cyanobacteria, of course, otherwise known as blue-green algae, has also been connected with neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and Lou Gehrig's disease. And needless to say, it also did a job on our local economy. A couple of years later, a study came out showing that we lost $184 million in direct tourist dollars and over $300 million indirectly because of those environmental catastrophes back then. Obviously, our environmental regulatory system down here in Florida isn't working. Just a few quick facts in case you don't know the degree of the crisis down here. A recent report said that Florida was #1 in the total acres of lake water that is impaired, polluted. We have about 1,000 springs in Florida. 80% of them are impaired, meaning they're polluted or they're suffering flow problems. We have 9,000 miles of rivers and streams that are contaminated with fecal bacteria. I mentioned red tides. We have had 200 months of red tides in the last 27 years. That's an explosion against what we experienced 120 years before that. As of 2018, as assessed by the state, close to 4,400 waterways. According to the state, over half of them are impaired. Over the last 50 years, Florida has issued 23,000 permits to polluters to pollute the surface waters of our state. And I'm sure everybody listening here today knows that 2021 was a terrible year for manatees. 1,101 manatees died. Most of them starved to death because our polluted waters kill the seagrass that they feed upon. Why isn't our environmental regulatory system working? Well, a major part, and I don't think it'll come as a surprise to most people on this call tonight, is the undue influence of special interests. And they end up having a lot to say about our environmental policy. So it was because of frustration with the failings of our environmental regulatory system that back in 2020, voters in Orange County did something historic. By an 89% approval rate, they passed the Right to Clean Water, Rights of Nature County Charter Amendment. Most Americans, and certainly most Floridans that I speak to, think that they have a right to clean water. We do not. It is not in the nation's Clean Water Act. They also gave rights to waterways, the rights to exist, right to flow, right to be free from pollution. Did anything come of that? Yes. Several weeks after that law was passed, by 89% again, that's such an amazing figure. 9 out of 10 voters up there. When is the last time 9 out of 10 Americans agreed on anything? They certainly agreed upon this, that water, clean water, is paramount. So shortly after they passed that county amendment, a developer applied to the DEP for a permit to build in wetlands. The project would destroy 116 acres of wetlands. We have already lost 9.3 million acres of wetlands in the state. With this new law, a citizen, and also for the first time in the nation's history, 5 bodies of water as plaintiffs sued the DEP and the developer. This is what they wanted. They wanted the judge to say to the developer, proceed no further, do no harm, and they wanted the DEP to enforce the new law when considering the application to build in wetlands. If it did so, it would not be able to issue that permit. The other thing that it wanted the judge to do was to declare in no uncertain terms that the folks in Orange County and these waterways actually had these rights. Why would that be necessary if hundreds of thousands of voters just approved this county amendment? Well, that is because even before the voters got to vote on this, after it was on the ballot, before the voting took place, the state legislature hopped in, and in a big bill called the Clean Waterways Act in 2020, they snuck in one sentence, and it preempted the authority of local governments to pass rights of nature laws, pass rights, and also to give citizens any rights regarding anything to do with the natural world. And it was because of this preemption that the developer and the DEP asked the court to dismiss the lawsuit. And that's what the court did after hearing both sides of the argument. The legislature has the authority to preempt local governments for passing such things, and that's what happened. So now these 116 acres are going to be destroyed because odds are the permit will be granted. The point here is that there are three things to take note of. Number one, it's the influence of special interests. It gets demonstrated over here. It is the fear of the legislature for a rights-based approach to environmental protection. And it also highlights the need for something bigger, better, over the heads and out of the reach of the state legislature. And that is what I'm going to focus on right now. That is an amendment, not to a local county charter, but to our Constitution. And I'm going to share my screen right now. And you are going to see some beautiful photos. And they are with the permission of photographer John Moran. They are absolutely gorgeous. So the name of the amendment is the Right to Clean and Healthy Waters Constitutional Amendment. And this is what it does. This amendment creates a fundamental right to clean and healthy waters. The amendment may be used to sue state executive agencies for harm or threatened harm to Florida's waters, which include aquatic ecosystems. The key word here is fundamental. Fundamental rights are the highest rights they are, and they would take precedence over the permitted rights of polluters. That is a big issue. People ask, don't we already have laws on the books with which we can hold the state accountable when it doesn't do its job and our waters end up being polluted? Yes, up until the point, until the state gives a polluter permission to pollute. At that point, the state's environmental protection law says, okay, well, you can't take any lawsuit action after that because we're saying it's okay. We need a law that is going to go above the permitted harm that the state allows. And that's what this fundamental right does. And to be very, very specific here, it makes us hold the state executive branch accountable. And that's all we need to hold accountable because ultimately the buck stops with the state. There is no pollution in the state unless the state government allows it. The first major section of the amendment is this. It gives a purpose. It articulates a purpose for the amendment. And we'll just read that text, which is in green font here. Waters sustain all forms of life. Clean and healthy waters protect and promote substantial interests, including human health, safety, and welfare, native fish and wildlife, conservation of natural resources, outdoor recreation, aesthetic values, business opportunities, property values, and economic interest. Drop down. Consequently, to promote the interest of Florida's people, businesses, organizations, communities, and economies in clean and healthy waters, we are proposing this amendment. And the point here is that clean and healthy waters are of such vital interest to Floridians, to the well-being, the quality of our lives, that we both merit and need the protections that a fundamental right can provide. We, as citizens of the state, have the right, have the power to propose and to pass this amendment and change our Constitution. The people have the inherent political power pursuant to Article 1, Section 1 of the Constitution to create the fundamental right in clean and healthy waters. The people hereby declare this fundamental right, which is indefeasible. Indefeasible means that it cannot be overturned, it cannot be compromised, it cannot be altered by the state legislature. I know there's a lot of cynicism out there because we've had state initiatives before, environmental in nature, comfortably or even overwhelmingly passed by voters, only to have the state legislature pull the rug out from underneath it to undermine its intent. That cannot happen here. This, by the way, is where we get that power. It is the first sentence of the Florida Constitution. All political power is inherent in the people. This is our document. We get to amend it when we deem it necessary, and given the conditions of waters in the state, it's necessary. So what harm does it prohibit? It shall be unlawful and considered a violation of the right to clean and healthy waters for a state executive agency as defined herein to harm or threaten to harm Florida's waters by action or inaction, including by regulation, rule, policy, plan, standard, permit, practice, including management practice, activity, agreement, memorandum of understanding, order, or by inaction that permits harm or threatened harm about which the state executive agency knew or should have known. That's some legal language. It needs to be legal language because this is a law that we are creating. It must be very, very precise. But once again, it gives us the power to act when the state, through action or inaction, isn't protecting our waters. And that case that I told you about up in Orange County is such an issue. The state was going to allow a developer to destroy 116 acres of wetlands, and because we lost that case, although it's still going to be appealed, it's an example of permitted harm. What exactly is permitted harm? I told you that I am a former New Yorker, so I was happy last year when New Yorkers passed their Green Amendment. It was 15 words long. It said all citizens have a right to clean air, clean water, and a healthy environment. But they didn't go on to define any of those terms. Someone's going to ask in court, well, what constitutes clean water? What constitutes clean air? What is a healthy environment? We have studied the Green Amendments in other states, including New York's. We have learned from them. We have improved upon them. We have articulated and defined the key terms. Here is such a case. What is harm exactly? It means the introduction of pathogens, contaminants, or toxins into waters, or the disruption of natural or hydrological or ecological processes or functions of waters. And this term includes, but is not limited to, such chemical, biological, or physical stresses to waters that contribute to unnatural water levels or nutrient loads. Again, very specific, that remove, fragment, or degrade habitat of native fish or wildlife, that disturb vegetation or soil near the edge of waters, that introduce exotic or invasive species, that obstruct or divert natural flow, that overexploit native species, and that negatively affect the health of humans or of native fish or wildlife. And this is a list of all the waters that our amendment will cover. It's a very expansive list. It has to be, because if we left something out, then it would be vulnerable to harm. Once again, up in New York, they didn't do anything like that. That amendment is going to be stuck in courts for a long, long time before it proves its effectiveness. Ours will be ready right out of the gates. Last key thing about the amendment that I want to bring to everybody's attention is this. Any violation under this section will be considered de novo. What does de novo mean? It comes from Latin. It means from the new. When a court hears a case de novo, it is deciding the issues without reference to any legal conclusion or assumption made by the previous court to hear the case. Basically, what will happen is the court will bring in all information. It does not necessarily have to listen to what the DEP says is sound water quality or healthy environments. It can bring in its own scientific experts. Of course, the plaintiffs, those people who are taking the state to court, will bring in their scientific experts. The bottom line here is that sound science, and not the influence of special interests or political ideologies, is going to determine what is environmentally best for our waters and our aquatic ecosystems. So, before I open it up to questions, I'm going to give some answers, because recently we have been in contact with a whole host of organizations out there, and they are giving our amendment a good hard look because they want to know that it is everything that we say it is. So they ask some very pointed questions. Here's one. Could a release of water from Lake Okeechobee into the Caloosahatchee that results in an algae bloom trigger a challenge under this amendment? Where I live in Southwest Florida, this is a huge, huge issue. Perhaps there is no bigger issue concerning water quality than water releases from Lake O, because when they do that, that causes blue-green algae blooms and exacerbates red tides. Well, the answer is yes. But there doesn't even need to be an algae bloom to trigger a cause of action, a lawsuit, because we know what's going to happen. It's happened in the past. It is going to create algae blooms. It's going to harm the ecology of the river, and therefore we can take the state to court even before it's going to make that release. This is the way we can finally get a grip on what's happening up there in Lake Okeechobee. Does this mean then that they're going to have to take other actions to clean up Lake Okeechobee? Yes, it does. How come I'm not proceeding here? Here we go. A couple other things. These jumped to my attention because I mentioned up in the Indian River Lagoon where we had the manatee mortality event. In fact, I hate putting it like that, where so many manatees have suffered so terribly and died. Well, what other sort of actions by the state could trigger a suit under this amendment? Well, let's say up in the Indian River Lagoon area, a development is proposed that's going to use septic tanks. Well, we know septic tanks are going to leach nutrients into the Indian River Lagoon and just cause further problems. At the same time that the state is spending millions of dollars to move away from septic tanks into sewer systems, we shouldn't be starting new developments based on them. With this law, we can prevent that development from happening and thus from further impairing the waters. Same thing if they want to hook up a new community to a substandard wastewater treatment facility. That makes no sense. If it's already inadequate, adding another development is just going to make the problem worse. This is another case where our amendment can come in. Could the issuance of a state 404 or ERP permit trigger a challenge under this amendment? 404 has to do with wetland permitting. Yes. The issuance of a permit that violates the right to clean, healthy waters, or even the filing of it, could trigger a cause of action. Going back to that Orange County case, if that lawsuit had been undertaken with our constitutional amendment in place, then the court would have decided very differently. It would not have said, oh, the legislature has the power to preempt the authority of local governments. It would have said, sorry, developer, sorry, DEP. The fundamental right of the people to clean and healthy waters takes precedence over here. This is why this amendment can be a game changer regarding development in this state. The text states that this section provides for equitable remedies against the actions or inactions of state executive agencies. How would the amendment protect against inactions of state agencies? Okay. Well, inaction could include a policy that falls below their objective due diligence of performance in their official duties, such as we have best management practices, but they're voluntary. A court could order the state to make them mandatory. Is there not enough funding in the DEP for staff or for monitoring or investigating or enforcing functions of responsible state agencies? Well, the court could order the state to make sure you get more staffing. Find the money, do it. Failure to hold creatures of the state, such as local governments, to constitutional standards of water protection. We have lots of water quality standards on the books. Many of them are very good. They're simply not being enforced. Our amendment can help us enforce them, get the state to enforce them. I don't want you to think that this is a piecemeal approach. Oh, you have a water problem over there, our amendment can fix it. You got a problem over there, our amendment can fix it. This is bigger than that. The intent is to make systemic corrections, case by case, so that over time, it is highly likely the amendment will seldom be needed. The state executive branch will be constitutionally forced into good decision-making for perpetuity. After it loses a couple of lawsuits for issuing bad permits in wetlands, it's going to stop issuing bad permits. We're not even going to need the law to hold the state accountable and prevent them from doing that. This is the long-term goal. So very quickly wrapping up, some technicalities over here, or practicalities, I should say. We need to collect 900,000 signed and approved petitions by November 30th, 2023. That is a heck of a lot of petitions to collect. We have time. We have spoken to campaign professionals, and right now we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, reaching out with the help of folks like Nicole, who are helping to broadcast our message, partnering up with other environmental organizations. And we can still do it, but we need the help of everybody. We cannot do it simply by ourselves. We would ask everybody on this phone call here to, of course, sign the petition. And you can find that at floridarightToCleanWater.org. It's very simple to remember, floridarightToCleanWater.org. You can read the amendment in full. Eventually, you'll print it out, sign it, date it, and mail it into the address, the Fort Myers address on the petition itself. If nothing else, besides that, I urge everybody listening to get 5 other people to sign the petition. Don't just give them a blank petition. Here, say, take it home, sign it, and mail it in. Have them do it right in front of you. Take it back, and then you send it in. You could send 5 petitions in one envelope with one forever stamp. You can join our Florida Right to Clean Water Ambassador Corps. Again, you can do that right on our website, floridarightToCleanWater.org. If you like what you hear tonight and you are associated with other organizations and you think they would like to hear what I have to say or other speakers, connect us to them. We'd be happy to share what our amendment is about. And lastly, I forgot to add this, not lastly. We are contacting everybody running for offices right now. They will be informed about our amendment. You go to town halls, you go to candidate forums, ask them where they stand on every Floridian's right to clean and healthy waters. Why anyone wouldn't support this is beyond me, but ask them. And lastly, we certainly can use your donations. Statewide campaigns are expensive, and we will not be successful without money and without signed petitions. In the end, it's a numbers game. I'm going to stop sharing. And
Okay.
Here we are back. I hope I didn't take too long.
No, that was great. Everyone, you can hear me, right? Okay, great.
Yep.
Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and bring in the stream really quick. There is the website that you were talking about that has the petition, and you go there to find that. And really quick, somebody asked, do you have to live in Florida to sign it? Because there's a lot of people who live outside of the state, but they like to come here to dive or vacation, or maybe they have a house up in the northern states, but they live down here parts of the time. So what's the answer on that one?
The answer is they must be a registered Florida voter.
Okay. So everybody got that? You have to be a registered Florida voter to sign that petition. And okay. And then the other thing about the petition is if you weren't sure if you signed it or not, how do you guys count for a double sign?
Well, this petition was launched on Earth Day this year. There was a similar petition last year that was going to give rights to nature on top of giving human the right to clean water. If they signed it before Earth Day, then they should go ahead and sign this. It's a different amendment.
Okay.
If they have signed something since Earth Day, it's probably the same thing.
Okay.
No one should knowingly sign the same petition. That's illegal. We do not want you to doing that.
Right.
But honest mistakes happen, and you don't have to go crazy about it.
Okay. And then let's see. So something else on your this is your website, but you guys are really prevalent over social media, right? So you can go up to their website. I think if you guys can see my little, you can go to their Facebook page, and they have great information about what they're doing currently and how to stay involved. So make sure that you follow their Facebook page as well. So make sure you check that out. Okay, so another question. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out how to get this thing off the screen. There we go. Okay, another question that came up during the conversation in the beginning was they wanted to know if you could tell us what the definition of impaired water in this context. I wasn't sure what part they were talking.
Impaired water means it's not clean enough for the designated purposes.
Okay.
If a water is supposed to be clean enough to go swimming in, but it's contaminated with fecal bacteria, it's impaired.
Okay. And so I just want to kind of, with my background, if anybody knows who I am, I'm Nicole, but I'm also, I've worked in the, or not worked, I've volunteered for the SEFCRE stakeholder group for our diving voice and the Our Florida Reefs. And the one thing that always kind of came up was how water quality is also a part of the coral reef health. And there's a lot of diseases that the corals get because of the water quality. Do you know anything about, the diseases of corals because of water quality? Is that anything that you guys have kind of rallied and tried to go and talk about?
Well, I know that down in Key West, they had passed, or they wanted to pass, a local amendment that would prohibit the sales of some sunblocks because they had chemicals and they would hurt the coral reefs. And that's another situation where the state stepped in and preempted their authority to do that. Our amendment could be used to have protected their rights to make that law.
Yeah.
And therefore protect their coral reefs.
And so if you guys are not aware, there are sunscreens that are reef safe. We do sell those products at our 4C scuba centers online as well. We sell them. If you just go to our website and you go to our shopping page, you'll find those sunscreens. Basically what you're looking for are sunscreens that are reef safe and they are free of the oxybenzone chemical. And then some other things that kind of go, we've got these waterways and we've got you see a lot of debris, especially when you get on the dive boats down here. You see a lot of debris in the intercoastal waterways that kind of get collected and pooled. Are there any organizations that are out there that are cleaning that up? Do you have any ideas?
That are cleaning up debris?
Yeah, in the waterways.
I'm sure there must be. I cannot give you any names off the top of my head. Okay.
I know like Four Oceans was doing some stuff. They're down here in the South Florida area. I don't know if they're statewide. But it's just interesting because, us as divers, we go out and we want to clean up the waterways, especially on our reefs. So when you notice, we pull up a lot of things like cans and plastic pieces and fishing line. But we have to remember, it's not just about cleaning up marine debris. It's also, we got to make sure our waters are clean. So the things that you're flushing down your septic tanks, the things that you're washing your vehicles and your lawns with, like that all goes into what Joe was saying today. And we have to be really aware of the products that we're using and, how much we are using of that certain product. because that does wash down into our waterways and into our oceans and gets onto our corals and affects the corals and the fish as well. So, and I'm sorry, do you know much about the outflow pipes that are still active?
Well, I know it's a problem.
Yeah, well, we know it's a problem, but
I know that our amendment can be applied in those cases.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this doesn't mean that bingo overnight, the problem is going to be solved. I mean,
Right.
those are very, very expensive initiatives to undertake,
Yeah.
but they will be started. They will be started. What will happen is the court will examine all the information. They'll see how much of a good effort the state has done to improve, to stop those problems and get it moving into the right direction. But something like that cannot be instantaneous. We understand that.
Mm-hmm.
But things will start happening, whereas in many cases, they're not fast enough.
Yeah. You know, the biggest thing, you guys, being a diver and being in the science world, working with these organizations that I have in the past, we always kind of looked at making recommendations for, you know, our fish and our corals. And the one thing that was prevalent, everyone always goes, well, let's make marine protected areas. Let's make no take zones. Problem with that is, guys, is even if you make those, if you don't have good water quality, it doesn't matter if we're taking the animals, they're going to be affected by this poor water quality that we have issues with. And so, you know, when you see these things come across your social media or when it comes into voting, make sure you're really paying attention and pushing for good, clean water here in Florida. I don't know how else to express, but that's got to be fixed first before we can fix anything else, I think.
Nicole, your comment highlights one of the aspects of our amendment because it talks about what makes clean water, and clean water is water that is good, is beneficial for wildlife, for marine life. If not, then it's harmful, and then it's not acceptable.
Absolutely. Well, it doesn't look like there's any other questions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring back into the stream here. And guys, I'm going to get that random name picker. There's everyone's names that registered. And we're going to give away some free air fill. So first winner is Gary. Gary, if you're listening, give us a woo in the comments. All right, Gary, you get air fills. Let's do one more. I'm feeling generous. Who else gets some air fills? How about 2 air fills to Eddie McCormick? If you're listening, give us a woohoo. You're our winner. So I will reach out to you guys, the winners, and we will make sure that you get your air fills at one of our 4 locations. Another thing, guys, since we're talking about other things that are happening in Florida right now, if you don't know, our Goliath grouper season is in tow. We have lots of Goliath groupers that are stacking up on the wrecks here in the Palm Beach, the Boynton Beach, Palm Beach, and the Jupiter area. So if you guys want to get out there and go see those animals, we have dive charters booking every day to go see them. And the biggest thing for you guys to know is make sure you're checking out this event page to see what kind of diving and presentations we have in store for you guys, because we want to keep you active. We want to keep you diving, and we want to keep you having fun. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for the presentation, Joe. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Guys, I put in the comments section the link for the website that you can go get that petition, and make sure you go there tonight, get it signed, get it in the mail. Let's go and help our Florida waters. All right. Have a great night, everybody. See ya.